You see, this is the only thing that we got to understand. That everything is like a wave. It's either up or down. And you can't have up without down or down without up. I mean, really, that's the whole point of the video. It can summed up by saying that you can't have something without nothing. Now, I'll explain in detail what I mean by this. But you see, I realized this not so long ago. And it helped me to not be so anxious, to not worry as much, and to be more calm. And I guess you could also say that in some way it also helped me to not be so serious, to not take things too seriously. And by the way, my name is Nago Daniel, and I make videos about stuff I'm interested in, about philosophy, about lessons that I learned. I also make videos about climbing, so hope you'll enjoy the content that I'm making. Now then, what I mean by this is that your life is like a wave, where you see everything is like a wave or a vibration. You see, it's either on or off. It's either up or down. I mean, physicists are also saying that particles can be seen as waves. And you see, if you think about it, all of your senses are really one sense. You see, it's kind of a form of touching. You are touching photons with your eyes, and you're also touching vibrations in the air with your eardrums and turn it into sound. See, you're touching gases in the air with your nose and turning it into smell. And of course, the crudest form of touch is with your epidermis, touching things actually. It's all a form of touching. And you see, this kind of touching is also just a vibration, it's also just a wave. It's either touching or not touching, sound or silence. It's just going like this, like this. It's going up and down, like that. You see, if the frequency of that, if it's going too fast, we don't notice the downside of it. You see, it's like when we're listening to music. We don't really notice the silence in the music, but it's there, because you can't have sound without silence. You need that pause, you need that interval to hear the sounds. I mean, of course, it's more evident with the light. We don't notice the missing of light, the off principle of light, because it's coming at us so fast. I mean, you can see this principle when you have a saw inside of a room that also have like an arch light or something like that. The speed of the light and the speed of the saw can synchronize, and it will appear like the saw is completely still even though it's moving. This is why they don't use those kind of lights where they also have a saw in the room. You see, if they synchronize, if they go too fast, it appears like they are not even moving. This also appears in helicopters and all sorts of stuff like that. But you see, the thing is that you can't have half a wave. You can't have just the crust of a wave without the trough, or the trough of a wave without the crust. They define each other. Half a wave cannot manifest itself. You see, they exist only in relationship to one another. And everything in this universe is like that. Everything only exists in relationship to one another. Like inside and outside, front and back, up and down, sound, silence, pain, pleasure, life and death, black and white. They all exist in relationship to one another. Because you see, they are inseparable. You don't know what you mean by inside if you don't have an outside. You don't know what you mean by outside if you don't have an inside. They define each other. They are completely inseparable. And this is the secret, that explicitly they are as different can seem. But implicitly there's a hidden unity behind them. That they are two aspects of the same reality. That they are inseparable, that they go together. It's like, you see, it's like bees and flowers. In reality, they are one organism, because you cannot separate them. And you see, they are connected, just like how your head is connected with your feet. Of course, it's not as evident between bees and flowers, because our head and feet are connected with all sorts of wires. But they are also connected by all sorts of very subtle currents in the air that bring the breeze to the flowers and the colors, all sorts of that. But you see, they are one organism because they depend on each other. They don't exist without one another. You see, you can't have a world with bees and no flowers, or with flowers and no bees. They are inseparable. And you see, the other thing is that with these oppositions, it's not like one came before the other. It's not like we had first the idea of long and then the idea of short. Or first a world with bees with no flowers, or first a world with flowers and no bees. They arise mutually. They come into being in pair. They cannot exist without one another. And this also applies to any opposition, life and death, up and down, inside, outside. You as a self and the world as other. And you see, it's just the same with your life. There are different periods in your life that alternate between each other. You see, one time you're up and one time you're down. One time you're happy, one time you're sad. One time you know where you're headed. Everything is clear, you have clarity, and one time it's all chaos. You have no idea what's going on, it's all darkness. It's always a period of one followed by the period of the other. One time you're disciplined, getting things done, and the other time you're procrastinating and you're lazy. Because you see, that's just the way that it is. What goes up has to come down. That's the principle. You can't have one without the other. So we just got to accept it and not fight against it, and to flow with this change, flow with the change of life. And now I got a great story that illustrates this principle. It's a Taoist story about a farmer, and you see, it's one of my favorite stories. You see, it goes like this, that one day this old Chinese farmer lost one of his horses. It just ran away. And you see, the neighbors came around and told the Chinese farmer, "Oh, what bad fortune. This is such a bad thing that has happened." And the farmer said, "Well, maybe." And then the next day, his horse returned to his farm with 5 other wild horses. And you see, when the neighbors came around, they told the farmer that this is such great news, this is good fortune. And then the farmer said, "Well, maybe." And you see, the next day, as the farmer's son was trying to tame one of the wild horses, it threw him off his back, and his son broke his leg. And when the neighbors came around, they told the old farmer, this is bad fortune, such a bad thing that has happened. And the farmer said, "Well, maybe." And then the next day, you see, the emperor of China declared war on the neighboring nation. And when the recruiters came around to recruit the Chinese farmer's son, they couldn't recruit him because of his broken leg. And when the neighbors came around, they said, "This is such a great news, he could have died in the war." The farmer said, "Well, maybe." You see, the farmer knew. You see, he was going with the course of things. He knew that what goes up has to come down and vice versa. So you see, as we said, this is what we got to realize, that good and bad moments go together. They are inseparable. And you see, if it didn't go down, you never know that you were up, and vice versa. You see, bad time, pain, is just as necessary for good times and pleasure as are bees for flowers. They really are one, they go together. You see, as we said, that behind these opposition, there's implicitly a hidden unity behind them. Between pain, pleasure, sound and silence, solid and space. See, life and death, something and nothing, being and non-being. They are 2 aspects of the same reality, which we can't describe. Because that reality, we cannot describe it because it's beyond classification. Because we can't put it in a box. Because to say that something is outside, you also need an inside. You see, there are 2 aspects of the same reality, just like the 2 ends of the same stick. But you see, the thing is that if we don't realize this, if we don't realize that black and white go together, they form a unity, then we might think that, oh, hold up, black might win. You see, pain might win over pleasure, non-being over being, death over life. And then we say, no, white must win. See, life must win over that, it must prevail over that. Pleasure over pain, you see, happiness over sadness, and we try to push the other one away. But we don't realize that this pushing is doing the exact opposite. It's like trying to get rid of one side of the coin. You see, then you keep grinding away at that one side. And then finally, once you got that side away, once you grind it away, you realize that the other side also disappeared. So then you see, this means that nothing really has an independent reality. Nothing is out there independently, because everything only exists in relationship with everything else. And this also includes you. You as a self and the world as other. Because you see, you don't know what you mean by self unless you have something to contrast it to. Something as other. And you see, of course, there's also this hidden unity behind these things. that you cannot exist without the external world, and the external world cannot exist without you. And you see, in reality, you are part of the external world. Because I am part of your external world and you're part of my external world. You see, we're all out there. We're not this independent, cut off part of reality. So then, of course, this means that you can't have winning without losing or losing without winning. And you can't have things going your way without having things that don't go your way, don't go the way that you expected them to be. But you see, the interesting thing is that we wouldn't want it any other way. We wouldn't want things to go our way all of the time. We don't want to have things under our control. It's a false ambition that we have to have everything under control, everything known and everything predicted. Because then there will be no surprise. The future will be known. And if the future is known, we know what happens, then it's already the past. We already know it. And you see, I mean, just think about it. Just imagine if when you went to sleep, you could dream any dream that you wanted for any amount of time that you would want. You could dream 70 years of time in one dream, or even 1,000 years in one night. Then what would you do? You had total control over your dreams. I mean, I would guess probably, and this is what I would also do, that you would probably go around fulfilling all of your wishes and dreams, having these crazy parties and everything, all sorts of pleasures imaginable. But you see, then after 3 months of doing that, 70 years every single night, or even 1,000 years every single night, you could get bored of it. Because you see, everything is known, everything is predictable. And you see, there's a limit to happiness, there's a limit to pleasure. Then you would, wake up one day and think, phew, that was a blast. But now let's have something different. Now let's put something in the dream which is somewhat out of my control. I'm not sure what's really going to happen. And you see, then you go on, saving princesses and having some kind of surprise element to it. You don't know what's going to happen next. And you see, then you wake up from that and you say, whew, now that was really close. Let's do this again. And then you would make the dream seem as real as possible. You would arrange things in a way that you would forget that you're in a dream. So that there would be even a bigger surprise. And then you will go on having all sorts of adventures. And then you would go out more and more, putting more risk into your dreams. And now, of course, you can't have a good surprise without a bad surprise. So you would even dream about suffering. You would even have nightmares, dreaming that you're going into war or suffering or being in a poor family where you had nothing to eat or getting all sorts of awful diseases. But you see how good it would be when you wake up. That you realize, this was all just a dream. Whew, that was quite a rush right there. What the contrast that you would have when you wake up. You see, your dreams would start getting more and more out of control. And you would dream all sorts of lives, all sorts of suffering, good lives, bad lives. Because we just want a surprise. But you see, how do you know that you're not already doing this? You see, if you have total control over your dreams, you would end up dreaming the life that you're living right now. You watching this video right now, talking about some random stuff here, that you can't have something without nothing. Isn't that interesting? So you see, having everything under control is not what we want. I mean, this is such an interesting question, really. What do you really want? So you see, this is the secret, that behind these oppositions, there's a hidden unity, and that they are really one, that they are two aspects of the same reality, and they go together. We can't have one without the other. And it's useless to fight against these things. It's useless to keep one of them and reject the other one. We just got to flow with the change of life, not resist it. And you see, if you're interested more about this stuff, I went really into detail about all of these. See, I even mentioned life and death. I mean, that's a topic for a whole video. I went into these in a video that I made recently about a series. I'm doing a series on Taoism, and it's the part 3 of that series called Mutual Arising, or something like, you can't have something without nothing. And I really delve into that dwell into life and death, the opposition between those two and the unity behind that. And I also made another video where I'm talking about life and death and these oppositions. It's titled something like going to sleep and never waking up. I'll leave a link to it in the description. If you're interested, you can check those out. And if you like this video and if you want other videos like this, you can subscribe, like the video, all of that stuff. It would help me out a lot. So thank you for being here, thank you for watching this video. If you're interested, I'm doing free one-on-one calls. Email in the description, you can send me an email, we can arrange a video call, you can ask me anything that you want, we can talk. So if you're interested, email in the description. So thank you for being here, thank you for watching. Have a great day and goodbye.